The autumn sun bathes Buckingham Palace in a golden glow, its honey-colored stones gleaming against a sky of endless blue. A sleek black motorcade rolls to a stop, its polished surface reflecting the iconic gates, where the Union Jack flutters proudly. In the forecourt, a royal guard stands as a beacon of tradition, his scarlet tunic vivid, his bearskin hat towering, his eyes fixed on an unseen horizon. The air hums with the chatter of tourists, the scent of fallen leaves, and the distant hum of London's pulse. But today, a single encounter will ripple through this historic stage. A clash between a general's demand for a salute and the guard's unyielding duty. A moment that will shatter expectations and redefine the meaning of respect. As the world watches, one question echoes. What does it take to bridge the divide between authority and honor? The motorcade doors open, and Brigadier General Marcus Thornton steps out, his four-star insignia glinting on a uniform as pristine as his reputation. At 22, Thornton is a towering figure, his stern face etched with the weight of decades commanding troops in the world's most volatile regions. His gray eyes, sharp as flint, scan the palace with a mix of curiosity and impatience. He is in London for a NATO defense conference, but this detour to Buckingham Palace, mandated by diplomatic protocol, feels like a waste of time. Thornton is a man of action, forged in the crucible of Afghanistan, where his barked orders saved lives and his strategic mind turned tides. Efficiency is his creed, authority his currency, and he expects both to be respected, even in the ceremonial heart of Britain. As he adjusts his cap, his aide whispers about the Queen's Guard, but Thornton waves it off, muttering, "Parade soldiers, all show, no substance." At the palace gates, Private Patrick Winters stands motionless, a living embodiment of the Queen's Guard. At 30, with 8 years of elite training, Winters is no mere ceremonial figure. His lean frame, honed by grueling drills, hides a strength tested in the shadows of classified missions. His dark eyes, steady beneath the bearskin's brim, betray a focus that has never wavered, whether facing tourists or enemy fire. Just weeks ago, Winters returned from a covert operation in Eastern Europe, extracting a high-value asset under gunfire. His calm under pressure earning him a discreet commendation. Now, back at his post, his goal is singular: uphold the protocols of the Queen's Guard with absolute discipline, honoring the crown above all else. A flashback shows him in a muddy trench, his rifle steady as bullets whiz past, his voice calm as he guides his team to safety. Today, that same focus anchors him, his ribbon fluttering in the autumn breeze, a quiet symbol of his resolve. The forecourt buzzes with live tourists snapping photos, children waving flags, vendors selling Union Jack keychains. Among them stands Colonel Evelyn Blackwood, a retired British officer whose silver hair and weathered face tell of a life in service. She's visiting the palace out of nostalgia, her own years in the military, a distant but vivid memory. Blackwood's keen eyes catch Thornton's arrival, her instincts sharpened by years of reading men and moments. She senses trouble brewing, her gaze shifting to Winters, whose stillness is a stark contrast to the general's restless energy. The crowd, unaware of the brewing tension, continues its chatter, but Blackwood's posture stiffens, her hand tightening on her cane. As Thornton strides toward the guard, Thornton, dismissing the palace's formalities, approaches Winters with a mix of intrigue and skepticism. He stops just feet away, his boots scuffing the gravel, and studies the guard as if sizing up a recruit. "Effectiveness is action, not inaction," he says loudly, his voice carrying over the crowd's hum. The words are a challenge, a jab at what he perceives as ceremonial pomp. Winters remains still, his eyes fixed forward, but he registers the provocation. He's training a shield against the general's bait. The camera pans to Blackwood, her lips pursing as she senses the shift in the air. Tourists begin to notice, their whispers growing, some amused, others uneasy as Thornton plants himself directly in Winter's line of sight, his broad frame casting a shadow over the guard's scarlet tunic. The conflict is clear. Thornton's need to assert military authority clashes with Winter's duty to prioritize the Crown's protocol over any NATO rank, no matter how senior. The tension escalates as Thornton's tone sharpens, his patience fraying. At ease, soldier, he snaps, his voice cutting through the morning air. Your general is addressing you. Winter's stillness holds, his ribbon fluttering in the breeze, a silent defiance rooted in centuries of tradition. Thornton circles him, his boots deliberate, his voice rising with each step. In real combat units, you acknowledge superiors. This isn't a costume party. The crowd grows quieter, their phones raised, sensing a spectacle. Blackwood winces, her eyes narrowing, while veterans in the crowd, old men with regimental pins, exchange glances. Their respect for Winter's palpable. A young girl, clutching her father's hand, whispers, "He's not supposed to move, is he?" Thornton's shadow looms larger as he steps closer, his voice a low growl. "This is a direct order. Salute now." The crowd holds its breath, the moment teetering on the edge of chaos. Then, in a breach that shocks all, Thornton places a heavy hand on Winter's shoulder, his fingers gripping the scarlet fabric. The crowd gasps, a collective sound that ripples across the forecourt. Blackwood steps forward, her cane tapping urgently, ready to intervene. Tourists murmur, some outraged, others confused, their cameras capturing every second. Winters, trained to respond to physical contact, acts with the precision of a man who has faced far greater threats. In a fluid, controlled motion, he lifts his gloved hand and removes Thornton's grip, his touch firm but devoid of aggression. His voice, steady and clear, breaks the silence. "Sir, touching a Queen's Guard is forbidden. Step back to the viewing area." Thornton's face flushes, his indignation, a storm ready to erupt. But Winters continues, his tone unwavering. "My duty is to the Crown first, not NATO rank." The words land like a gavel, a declaration of principle that silences the crowd. Phones lower, tourists staring in awe. As the guard's calm authority shifts the dynamic. Captain Daniel Edwards, a Queen's Guard officer with a decade of service, strides forward, his presence a calming force. His uniform is crisp, his voice measured but commanding. "A misunderstanding, General," he says, addressing Thornton with respect but firmness. Private Winters is bound by protocol, but his service extends beyond ceremony. He's fresh from a special reconnaissance mission in Eastern Europe combat, not just parade. The revelation hangs in the air, forcing Thornton to reassess the man he dismissed as a parade soldier. Edwards gestures to the viewing area, his tone diplomatic. "Please, join us to observe the guard change." Thornton, his pride stung, but his discipline intact, nods curtly and steps back, the crowd parting as he moves. Blackwood exhales, her cane easing to the ground, her eyes lingering on Winters with quiet pride. The tourist, now hushed, watch Winters resume his post, his stance unflinching, a symbol of duty that transcends rank. The resolution unfolds in a private corner of the palace, where Thornton, Edwards, and Blackwood gather after the incident. The room is elegant, its walls adorned with portraits of monarchs, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood. Edwards, standing by a window overlooking the gardens, speaks with calm authority. Winters isn't just a guard. General, his mission last month saved lives under conditions most soldiers never face. His stillness today is the same discipline that kept him alive. Thornton, seated, his cap resting on the table, listens, his stern face softening. Blackwood, invited as a respected observer, adds, "The Queen's Guard isn't about show. It's about sovereignty, about a line that doesn't bend, no matter who stands before it." Thornton rubs his jaw, his earlier indignation giving way to reflection. "Different traditions," he says, his voice low, "but the same principles: duty, honor, Discipline. He rises, extending a hand to Edwards, a gesture of reconciliation. At the guard change that afternoon, Thornton stands among the dignitaries, his posture no longer rigid with authority, but relaxed in parade rest, a silent sign of respect. The ceremony unfolds with its usual precision. The guards marching in perfect sync, their boots a rhythmic drumbeat. Winters, now off duty, watches from a distance, his bearskin hat removed, his face still composed, but his heart lighter. The tourists, unaware of the morning's drama, snap photos, their voices a lively hum. But Blackwood, lingering nearby, catches Winter's eye and offers a nod, a soldier's acknowledgement of a battle well fought. The palace, with its golden gates and ancient stones, stands as it always has, a witness to countless moments of pride and principle. Its honor upheld by a guard who stood firm. Weeks later, Winters returns to his post, his scarlet tunic vivid against the autumn leaves. The tourists pass by, their cameras flashing, their voices a blur, unaware of the man who faced a general and won through stillness. Blackwood, visiting again, watches from the crowd, her cane steady, her heart warmed by the sight of Winters at his duty. The story of that day spreads quietly through military circles, diplomatic briefings, and whispered tales among the guard. It becomes a lesson in respect, not as a demand, but as a bridge built through understanding. Thornton, back at his NATO conference, speaks of the incident with newfound humility, framing it as a reminder that every tradition carries its own weight, its own truth. Winters, unchanged by the attention, continues his service, his focus as sharp as ever, his duty to the crown, a fire that never dims. The encounter at Buckingham Palace is more than a clash of egos. It is a parable of our time, a reminder that respect is not a command to be issued, but a connection to be earned. It challenges us to look beyond rank, beyond uniforms, to see the shared values that bind us: duty, honor, the refusal to compromise what matters most. Patrick Winters, in his stillness, spoke louder than any salute, proving that true strength lies in standing firm, in honoring the principles that define us, even when the world demands otherwise. The palace, with its timeless rituals and steadfast guards, carries on, its story enriched by a moment that bridged two worlds, two traditions, two men who, in their own way, served something greater than themselves. True respect bridges traditions. What's yours? Have you ever faced a moment where you had to stand firm for what you believe, even against pressure? Did you hold your ground or find a way to build understanding across divides? Share your story in the comments below. Tell us about the moments that tested your principles, the choices that shaped your respect, the lessons that linger in your heart. If you're inspired by stories like Patrick's stories of duty, courage, and the quiet victories that redefine our world, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. Join us for more tales that uplift, that challenge, that remind us of the strength within us all every single day.